And at the Ford Foundation, we believe in ideas, we believe in institutions, and we believe in individuals. And I think for us, even as we also continue having conversation with other partners, it's really important that we trust the process that the young people want to go through. And I always say it's really important to throw them at the end of the pool, deeper end of the pool. And what we need to do is to be there if they're sinking, to be able to pull them out. And again, leave them to learn how to swim. So our support to ELF, and we are very proud today to be part of the 10 years. And I just want to say that it isn't even 10 years. We started our support in 2017. And 2017, that's around 5 years. And here we are, and seeing ELF grow. Ford cannot imagine what more young people can do for this country and even the region, even as we work with them.
Thank you very much, Ms. Margaret. She says, trust the process that young people want to go through in order to reach their aspirations, and there is no need to be apprehensive about young people, however much you have seen them in volatile situations. Trust the process. Allow me to move to Ms. Damaris Mugai. Coming from the United Nations and with basically having a bird's eye view of the Sustainable Development Goals and the implementation and the progress made, linking that to Agenda 2063, what are your thoughts about how Africa has conducted itself in trying to achieve the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2063? And do you feel that you're making good progress, or there are certain areas that we need to enhance?
Thanks very much, Stella, and I'm glad to be here, and particularly to have heard the story of ELF. One of the things, just before I even answer to what you've just said, it's just the understanding that SDGs are all about interconnectedness. And we know very well that AU 2063 is also interconnected to the broader SDG goals. And so we, as the United Nations Environment Programme, because that's where I sit, then we are mandated regarding participators. But what I have seen constantly is that there is a need to recognize that whereas the different SDGs are under thematic areas, the one that brings all of us together, and that's how I see ELF, is the partnerships. I have seen the whole ELF was starting. It was all about, I have a dream, I have a vision, but who are going to partner with me? As I have seen the journey, I have been able to see that she has partnered with different entities, so the governments. I have seen her with the ministers. I have seen her with the private sector. I have seen the academicians, and that's how SDGs can only operate, if we all come together. And so yes, we are on track. The fact that we are here, we have 9 years to go, and the fact that we are recognizing the need to come together, we are on track. And we are definitely going to get there if we understand the correlation between the SDGs, Agenda 2030 partnership led by a young person, but seeking adult support. And I think that's where intergenerational dialogue comes in also, even as we push the SDGs to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it with you, especially because I think there's a very central role that young people need to play the conversation on climate justice and the future of the planet. And since this is definitely your area of expertise to address the climate crisis, so that the young people they're preparing have a perfect environment to live in the future.
Thank you very much. Again, in order for ELF to be able to access the young people who are pushing the agenda on climate, we have to recognize that they have already come up. We have what we are calling young people who are pushing the environmental agenda, and we have been seeing it, and I think you saw it very clearly in Glasgow last year. And so what we need to do, because they are facing apathy, they are also facing what is called anxiety. They are facing what is called climate anxiety. And why they are facing this is because whereas they are able to speak, whereas they are able to see the next level, so that the anxiety can come down. And the reason they have anxiety is because they're feeling the older generation is going to leave and they will be left. So if we are able to have this particular setup pushing the agenda of climate justice, but also from the people coming from a defense mechanism. So we are calling them, for example, children environmental defenders, or children environmental defenders for the environment. So those kind of people coming up, so there's children and there's also youth. If that particular anxiety is addressed, but addressed from passion to action and to actual delivery of whatever it is they are pushing, you might have seen and we have nature laws. I like what I saw. When you started, you did not go to a concrete jungle. You went to Arboretum. And it is because it gives you a space to think. It gives you a space to sit and a free space to engage. And so even as we are growing and are recognizing that SDGs are focusing on the pillars of environment, the pillar I saw on socioeconomic empowerment and leadership, let environment be a big pillar of it, because without it, I believe you'd not have had a place to start ELF at the Arboretum. Again, recognizing the works of many behind us who fought for the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damaris, for that. Quite eloquently expressed. I hope the rapporteur was speaking the tidbits, because that's where the money is. But allow me to bring in Mr. Obari. You do a lot of work in developing MSMEs, building skills for entrepreneurship and capacity building for engagement in business and skills along the continuum of business. What have been your learnings about what young people need in the future of this continent?
Thank you so much, Stella. And I think maybe allow me to mention I work with Forum CIF, a Swedish international organization, the space of human rights, democracy, gender equality, and climate justice. Environment and climate change is dear to us as an organization. So I'll speak first from the perspective of Forum CIF. What do we do to support the young people? In all our programming, because we do sub-granting and also direct implementation, the young people are at the center of our interventions. All the partners were given the space that they do need. But also through the partnership, and Damaris here speaks about SDGs, speaking about SDG number 17 on partnerships, it was not put there by mistake, that everything that you want to do as a partner, state and non-state actors, you must work in partnership. And so the young people, the youth, whether it is skills for speak from the skills perspective, my past experience, what we've noted about young people, they have the skills, they have the energy, they have the stamina, they have the will to go where they want. What they need, like oil to the engine to propel, they need financial resources because they have the ideas. That is one step. The second thing, they need access to markets, because all these young people have opportunities and they are great innovators. And I think if you are looking for innovations, innovations don't come from, older generations. It's the young people who have the ideas for solving problems that face them, and also humanity as a whole. But also, they need an enabling ecosystem. And this ecosystem is, whether it is from the legal environment perspective, but I think for the young people, they need connections. They say your networks is your net worth. If you don't have the connections to get access to what you do to the market, and nowadays we are not there in the previous years, but the young people now need to take advantage of these opportunities and showcase to the world that these are their capacities. So I think those are what I'm calling enablers, because they already have the skills and what it takes to go to the direction they desire. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I hear you saying that young people need financial resources, they need support for innovation, they need an enabling ecosystem to be able to implement their innovation. And you're also saying that networks is their network. I normally say that my social capital is my biggest asset. I protect it more than my money. But Cynthia, as you hear this conversation, Ms. Muliwa is saying that we must trust the process that young people want to go through. And for you, you're one of the people who trusted her own process, and everyone around you managed to work with you to support your process. But I also hear that there are certain things that may cause fear amongst young people, like the climate anxiety that is accompanying our current situation. So one of the questions I'll be asking you is, do you feel that the youth are equipped with what they need, or is they need more support? And if they need more support, what kind of support do they need? How do you link that with what ELF is offering?
Thank you for the question, Stella, and thank you to the panelists who've spoken before me. Let me just take this opportunity to thank ELF and especially Karen, who found me on Facebook. She found me to young people. Have they been supported enough? Let me speak for myself. I have been supported enough. So in 2017, just before I joined Emerging Leaders Foundation, I had taken part in a competition by the World Bank called World Bank Blog for Development Kenya competition, seeking the ideas of young people to talk about development issues in their country. And when I was shortlisted as one of the top 10 and I did not win, I broke down. Literally, I could not understand how I did not win that opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and meet global leaders. And for me, at that point, it meant the world. It meant everything. And so ELF came when I was trying to find an opportunity to be a leader. And so I can say I have been supported. But for the young people I meet a lot of the times, they're always saying that they also do not have opportunity. So I am a champion for SDG number 4. One of the things they are getting to go into the workforce. So for example, I studied law at the University of Nairobi, and when you're being trained to be a lawyer, you're trained to be a litigator. But then you ask yourself, as a lawyer, what else can I do that will impact the country as a whole? And so young people are asking those questions. They want those opportunities that will enable them to be leaders. So when you look at ELF, I can say that one of the programs that really supported me as a young person was the media aspect, because you watched in the video that you were trained how to speak in public. That enabled me to talk about important issues in the community. And we also get to see the power of film, because it is, you cannot be the leader you do not see in your community. And so I saw women being featured in these films, and I got that for myself. So young people want that, but when you also talk about climate, specifically the aspect of nutrition, when you look at children cannot go to school if they don't have a plate of food. And many of those children actually go to school to eat. So that when you deal with the environment, you also enable children to access nutritious food, and they're also able to go to school, and therefore they're able to transition from ECD to primary education, secondary education.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. I hear you talking about the intersectional relationship between the different problems we're trying to address, and the need to be able to see the full spectrum and address the problem from a bigger perspective, so that the solutions we're offering will have a domino effect in terms of solving all the problems we have in a society. And you also say you've got sufficient support, and if programs like the ELF one are running, young people will continue to get the kind of support that they need. Good, I hear you. I want to bring you into this conversation with the backdrop of what, but also with the thinking that private sector has this thing that young people need.